Christian McCaffrey spoke today. I asked Christian McCaffrey about Sam Darnold because I knew what Christian would say. I knew where this was going. They went to the Warriors game together. They're friends. They played together for 2 years. I said, Christian, what kind of quarterback are the Niners getting in Sam Darnold? And he was just, guys, so he just went on and on and on about how tough he is and professional and talented and gifted and everything. What did you think of how Christian McCaffrey, like literally the leader and alpha on this offense, gushed over the Niners' third string quarterback?
He loves him.
Loves him.
Loves him. It's amazing. Sam Darnold must be just an awesome guy, or he like buys every beer. You know what I mean? Hey,
still got his.
I got you, bro. I got you. Yeah,
he still got his signing bonus from 2018, and he's absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, he's either buying everybody beer, or he's just the world's greatest guy. Because he glowed about him, and he's confident. And he's this and he's that, and it's amazing. Kyle talks him up. Christian talks him up. He's a very popular guy, this Sam Darnold.
Absolutely. And I think this is another thing that's working against Trey Lance in this competition is like, I don't think anyone on this team has those feelings for him. I mean, the organization brought him in to replace their friend in Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's not Trey's fault, but that always was working against him. And he hasn't played. So no one on the team can say anything confidently about what he is, what he does, blah, 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 blah. Sam has played like 50-something games. And what I think a lot of players feel is he got screwed. He played for terrible teams, terrible coaches, Adam Gase, Matt Rule, never complained, always got scapegoated. And I think people feel for him. And now they're rooting for him. And they don't look at Trey Lance as being in that situation. Like, he was on the best team. He was in a great situation, and he wasn't ready for it. I think that's kind of how they look at it. So you already have the alpha on the offense in Sam's corner. How long until it's Juszczyk 2? How long until it's Kittle 2?
I'm glad they believe in him. I mean, what's the alternative? Oh, they don't believe in him. So I'm glad they believe in him. But
the tepid praise they give Trey. Oh, he's a good guy. When they don't believe in a quarterback, when they talk about his personality, he's such a good guy. That's not what they say about Sam. No. It's scary.
Though, and Sam's numbers in that last game that you put out on Twitter a few weeks ago was like, that was a horrendous game. So, but I'll say this, his highlight reel, if you just Google Sam Darnold 2022, you'll see a number of really interesting plays where he shows arm strength, he shows mobility, he's got size. Yeah. He played, his highlight reel looks good. Yeah. But so why is he throwing all these picks? And why he threw a bunch of picks at SC too. So it wasn't like he
threw a bunch of picks when he played with McCaffrey.
Right.
He played with McCaffrey already. He still sucked.
It's amazing.
I'm sorry.
They love him. They love him though. They're talking him up.
I actually think that Kyle thinks that Darnold can do as much or more than Purdy. And I think he wants to prove it. And I think he's going to be so wrong. But you're right. I think he feels like, look, on this team, as long as Darnold just manages the game and doesn't turn the ball over, he can do everything that Purdy can do and more. He can push the ball down the field better. He's bigger. Yeah, but he's a walking turnover, and he's been that since college. Like, you really think that's going to change here because you're giving him McCaffrey, who he's already played with? I call BS.
Personally, I would just love to see Trey Lance be able to run the same offense that Purdy got to run, that Jimmy gets to run, instead of just quarterback power runs and like, oh, well, we're going to run them. How about just
pocket movement, off play action,
shallow
please.
Crossers, dump it to the flat, give them some options, take some shot plays. Don't just, I'd like to see what Trey looks like in an offense that didn't ask him to run, that just allowed him to scramble. Because to me,
hand off and throw like a quarterback. I mean, he's only averaging 4 yards a carry, 4.4 yards per carry. Like, you got 7 guys on the team that'll give you more than that. So let him hand off, because it does seem like defenses are concerned about him running. So good, let him hand off. Let him make life easier for the running backs, and then let him do play action on pocket movement left and right. That's what you do for Brock. I mean, look, the way I look at Brock is that out of the shotgun, he's good, but he's a little small and his arm's a little limited. On play action, he's great because you can move him all over the place. He's so quick. He's a really, really, really good play action quarterback, which makes him a great fit for this team. I think Trey can be a good play action quarterback too. It's just he's always in the shotgun running the zone read. Just saying.
I would, to me, the Atlanta game last year was a perfect example of, I think, what Trey potentially could be. Look what Mariota was. Look how much pressure that Mariota's presence and those totally mediocre running backs put on that Niner front. You never knew
they were on their heels the whole game.
Yeah, they played ball, but see, that's the kind of offense they. It's not necessarily an explosive offense. It's a run heavy. Ball control,
right?
Run your quarterback on 3rd and 1, kind of an offense. Keep the chains moving, dominate time of possession. There's nothing wrong with that, though. I mean, you can win.
Keep your quarterback out of obvious passing situations, like on 3rd and 7. That could be a run, and that's how the Eagles are too. Like they never ever put Jalen Hurts in a situation where he knows he's throwing because they're always winning. They run on 3rd down. They go for it on 4th down. They're the best offensive line in the league. That makes his job a lot easier. I'm still a little skeptical. I like Jalen Hurts a lot, but they just made him the highest paid player of all time. Like, is he that great, or do they do a good job of accentuating all his strengths?
Staying ahead of the chains.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
He's always got play action at his disposal and all kinds of play fakes. But yeah, I mean, it's effective, and they're winning games, and they went to the Super Bowl. And, you kind of wonder, you look at Trey and go, wait a second, he could do all that. All that.
Same with Justin Fields. Yeah. Same with Anthony Richardson. Like it's interesting because I feel like with Trey, he has to learn this whole offense. It's a whole new language. It's so hard to play, especially if you haven't done anything like this before. Brock has. I just feels like what they do in Philly is easy as hell. It's just college offense.
I think Shanahan's prioritizing. You have to be able to take the layups in the passing game that you get, and Trey, in his mind, probably doesn't take those layups. Or doesn't make
then you misevaluated him. Then you misevaluated. I wanted to ask John today, but we got cut off. I was going to try to get the last question. Did you misevaluate Trey, or did he not improve at the rate that you thought he would? Because something happened. What was it? Was it one of those two? What did you miss? Is he not as athletic as you thought? Is he not as good of a thrower as you thought, or did you think he'd make more strides by now? Because it had to be one of the two, right?
You know what I think, and that conversation is not one that that question is not one he's going to entertain on any real level as long as Trey is wearing a 49er uniform. Yeah, when he's not on the team, he would address that. I think if he was being totally honest, and it's a fair question, I think the answer is that they have dialed up the urgency on their Super Bowl window with this group, with Trent and Kittle and Bosa, they can see the end, and they know they've got like this year and next year, and that's it. And so they're looking at Trey going, you know what? We think it's going to take a year or two, and we only have a year or two left. And so I think nothing has happened with Trey. They don't feel any differently about Trey. I just think that they're looking at Brock, and they're looking at their window, and they're saying, Brock fits our window better than Trey's development fits our window. We're all in with Brock, and we'll entertain a deal for Trey. Now the only question is, what are they willing to take?
It just feels like an epiphany they should have had before they traded up to the 3rd pick. I mean, it's just, we're supposed to give them a pat on the back because they realized that their timeline didn't match up with Trey's. Like, I really could have told you that more than 2 years ago. And when they traded up and were considering Trey, I think that was the biggest hold on, you're telling me this win now team really has the time and the bandwidth to get him up to speed? I don't see it. But I mean, when they did it, I was like, wow, well, God love them. They must have a plan. And the plan was sit him for a year. That didn't work. I mean, this whole epiphany feels like 2 years too late.
They were never, in my opinion, they were never committed to the rookie growing pains. They were only committed to the advantages of the rookie contract. So, they wanted a quarterback on a rookie contract. Lynch said it again today. When he was asked about Lamar, he's like, hey, we built this team in a certain way.
Then they should have drafted Davis Mills in round 3.
We built this team thinking that we have to have a rookie quarterback or a quarterback on a rookie deal. So that was their commitment. I don't think they were ever truly committed to taking the lumps that most rookie quarterbacks take in this league.
They made him so expensive by trading up, and it's like, you can't trade up for a project. Like, whoever takes Anthony Richardson better not trade up for him. That's a guy who just falls to you, and you're like, hey, like the Seahawks. The Seahawks have 2 first-round picks this year. If he just happens to fall to him and one of them, they can be like, hey, man, I mean, we didn't even plan to have this pick. He's here. Who cares? Like, great. But you trade 3 first-round picks to move up to him. Like, everyone, every day, national locals, like, so what's up with Trey? What's up with Trey? What's up with Trey? Is he ready? Is he ready? Is he ready? First, oh, he's not ready. You fucked up. Whoa, my God. Like, and that's what happened to him. You created this level of scrutiny And I think it was probably a mistake. Probably a mistake. What do you think was going to happen?
I just think it's like one of those things where they love the idea of getting a young quarterback on a rookie deal that they could build around and win with. But I don't think they were ever really committed to losing for any period of time. And as they kept putting off his debut, and then all of a sudden the urgency to win has gotten greater and greater. Now they're at a point where they're like, hey, man, it is time for us to win a Super Bowl. And over here, you got a quarterback that may take half a year to a year and a half to 2 years to 2.5 years. We don't know how long, but somewhere in that window, he needs some time to develop. And I
just don't buy that, though, Larry.
They're not doing it because they got Brock.
I don't buy that narrative that all they wanted was a quarterback on a rookie deal. Because if that's all they wanted, you don't move up to 3. You stay at 12 and you take Mac Jones, or you freaking take Davis Mills in round 3. Because what they've seen now is they can get quarterbacks in round 7 who fit their scheme and win.
But here's the one difference. The one difference is I think when they saw Mahomes and Allen Grant, they saw
that's correct.
Those guys had high level movement ability. So I don't think they ever really wanted a Mac Jones. I could be wrong about that, but I think they saw that you got to be able to play from the pocket, but you have to have off schedule movement ability. And then they have that with Brock Purdy. They have a guy who can move incredibly well. Now, the question is...
But he can't push the ball down the field like those other top quarterbacks.
What's his high-end ability? What does he look like off this surgery? Right. That's the big question, too.
Because, I mean, like, short, intermediate, moving, he's all good, but he doesn't... He might have completed one pass that traveled more than 30 yards or 35 yards in the air. He hit the one to Kittle down the middle. He might have had 1 or 2 more. But I think everything else is a little bit 30 yards and in, 25 yards and in. And over the long haul, our defense is going to squeeze him. I don't know. I feel like most of the great quarterbacks, I mean, can air it out when they have to, just to keep you honest.
I don't know. I mean, did you feel like what we were seeing last year wasn't legit? I thought it was totally legit.
He's on the best team in the league. And I mean, he definitely won a bunch of games.
Timing and tempo and
he did. And Nick Foles won a Super Bowl on the Eagles, man.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
He got
hot. Purdy got hot.
Well, I don't know if my whole thing is if you go watch the Purdy Iowa State film, he looked a little bit like that. If you
put Purdy on, let's say, the Jets last year, what would have happened? You put Purdy on the Cardinals last year, what would have happened? Like, I think he played great last year. Jimmy played great last year when they got Christian McCaffrey. It's a great team. And I have questions about Hurts too. I still think Hurts is much better than Purdy. You could disagree with that, but Hurts is on the best team in the NFC. No weaknesses on that team, and the scheme sets him up. Like, Purdy's in the same freaking situation, and Foles won a Super Bowl in that situation. I just feel like the search for a franchise quarterback should continue until Purdy either wins a Super Bowl or I don't know. I'm a little skeptical, I got to say.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, yeah. I agree with you, by the way. You don't have a franchise quarterback until you do. And and since you can't typically win in the NFL without one, unless you know you have one, you got to keep drafting and looking for one. And that's why I do like.
So bring in Jake Haener. Freaking bring in Jake Haener, man. Do it.
Jake Haener, whoever you think is the guy.
Take
that
swing.
Guy in. But I mean, the only thing is you can only have 3, and if you bring in a rookie quarterback in this draft, that means you're trading Trey Lance or Brock Darnold out for the year or Darnold.
Yeah, hey man, make a survivor. I like that. Someone's getting kicked off the island. This is real serious. I like that. And also, what did John Lynch say today? They went through 5 quarterbacks last year. Yeah, you did. So maybe find a way to have 5 on in the building somehow. I don't know. On standby like that. Twisted Clown says, Kyle Grant, I'm going to show the NFL the super flying V. Sam at quarterback, Trey at Brock, split fullback, CMC and Debo, split running back. Kyle, he's just always one step ahead. Battle Bear 19 says, Brock fits our window is the dumbest thing I've heard. We've been hearing this since 2021, no rings. Way tougher schedule this year. AFC North is tough. Well, I mean, look, he does fit the timeline. The question is he good enough? And it is fair to wonder if Trey does fit the timeline because of what happened the last 2 years.
Well, okay.
I'm actually with Larry on that.
I mean, think about it. We've seen Brock win games. We've seen Brock win playoff games.
Yeah, no doubt.
So he's obviously ready to win right now.
He's good to go. You want him on your team.
Saw him win. Trey, we hope can do that, but it's
same
projection.
with Darnold. Same with Darnold.
Oh,
Chapin says Yeah, Sir Payne says Larry hates Trey so much. He doesn't. That he would trade Trey for the last pick of the draft because he believes the Niners will pick another. Hold on. So Larry makes a prediction and people say he hates the guy. There's a difference between saying, I think this is going to happen from, I think this should happen. I think you've been pretty clear that you wouldn't trade him for anything less than a 1. Isn't that your stance?
Well, my stance is I think that, first of all, I was the guy who wanted him to begin with. At this point, I would trade him for a late 1 or a high 2. Because to me, if you get a high 2, you might be able to get Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. You might be able to get Foskey, who they met with at the Pro Day. Yeah. I love Michael Mayer. I love Foskey. I love Kalijah Kancey. Kalijah Kancey, I think, is a super special player. I mean, it's clear that the Niners want to have an awesome D-line. If you could add Kalijah Kancey to your D-line, I'd rather have that.
Here's how the Niners do that. Here's how the Niners trade Trey Lance for a late 1st or early 2. Add another player to the deal. And that way you don't, or player, because if it's another player, then you don't really know what Lance's value was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Ambry
you don't know. And it's not embarrassing. Or someone with actual value who doesn't suck. Sorry, Ambry. That was kind of mean. But.
Well, or you take a young quarterback coming back, going back the other way. Maybe you take a Davis
Zach
Mills.
Wilson. I've been asking everyone this. Wow. Who says no? Trey for Zach. Who says no? Which team and why?
I think both teams say no. I think the Niners say no because, Zach Wilson has never proven that he can work in a muddy pocket, and NFL pockets are always muddy. I mean, there's always people around you. He doesn't like the bodies around him. It's clear he didn't. You saw it at BYU. He never really operated in a muddy pocket. In the NFL, you're always got bodies hurled around you. So I think they would say no.
I think the Jets would do it.
You think the Jets?
I think the Jets would say yes. I think they want to get him out of that building. I think they're out on him because of who he is. I think they want him out. And I think with Trey, you could look at him as like, oh, we could sit him behind Aaron Rodgers for a year. Like, we're perfect. Trey's not a toxic person. And then from the Niners' perspective, I think they really liked him when he was coming out. And again, they could think the same thing with Darnold. Like, Zach Wilson's been with the Jets. That's a poverty franchise. Like, come over here. You're from the West Coast-ish in Utah. You'll fit in over here. There'll be no pressure. We like you. I don't know. I don't know.
I could see Minnesota stashing Trey behind Cousins for a year.
I can see that. David W. says, again, questions at quarterback and O-line. Really a Super Bowl window? Thought all Super Bowl contenders have elite quarterbacks and good O-lines. That's what I thought. But the Niners, have a different script that they're going to. They're the, they got what they got.
Right now, by the way, the 49ers are the highest number over-under in Vegas. Highest number of wins this year. So Vegas thinks they're going to win the most games. Well, it's their division. They got a lousy division.
It's true. Chap says we trade Brock like Larry wants. What happens if Brock isn't the same? We trade Brock. I don't think Larry's saying trade Brock. What happens if Brock isn't the same? It doesn't matter because you got Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Do you know that?
These things don't have to, they aren't necessarily tied together. If the 49ers either do or don't believe in Trey Lance, and you're not going to know it based on what they're saying. You have to judge what they're doing because nobody's going to devalue their asset intentionally. We don't like him. It kind of sucks. We drafted him. We don't like him. Nobody's going to say that. So we don't know exactly how they feel about Trey. We do know exactly how they feel about Brock. They like Brock. They've said it, and they've loved Darnold, and they say that. So
I know
the fact that they're not loving up on Trey kind of makes me think that, and they won't just say, you know what, he's going to be on the team. Makes me think that if the right player or the right team calls this weekend with the right picks, that they'll pull the trigger. That's my guess.
Yeah, but the Niners won't be so lucky. Fish and Chip says good chance quarterback we need isn't on the team. That's what I think. The way I look at it is Brock's got a spot in this team for sure. But is he Nick Foles or is he Jalen Hurts? I would say he's Nick Foles. But I guess I could be wrong. John Lynch clearly thinks he's better than Lamar Jackson. So there's a difference of opinion here. We'll have to see who's right. I'm going with Nick Foles.
You think I'm usually wrong? You think it's just a hot streak?
I think it's a great team.
He's a career backup, and it's a hot streak.
He's a great backup. He's a great backup with mobility who fits this system perfectly and is on a hell of a team. Number one defense in the league. The best weapons in the league. Yeah, he should be able to win on this team. I think a quarterback who can't win on this team might really suck, which is why the Niners are looking at Lance the way they
Jimmy,
are. Like, hey,
before Purdy, though, 9-29, all quarterbacks not named Jimmy.
Yeah,
in the
but I mean,
team, same
but
system.
that wasn't the same team. Like, Nick Mullins never played with Christian McCaffrey. And I mean, Debo was out all of 2020. Like, it wasn't always the same team. I think if
they've been a consistent winner. They've been in 3 of the last 4 NFC Championship games, and one of those teams went to the Super Bowl.
2020, they sucked. They were hurt. They had the most. They like they set a record for injuries in 2020.
Yeah, they did.
They sucked that year. Anyway,
they had a ton of guys
Isaiah Gill says Trey freaking area. Hey, oh. Chap says Lance, my bad. I already forgot what you talked about, but at least he said my bad. Thank you very much.